Passenger Seat Radio. It is Monday, January 13th, 2025. Welcome to the new home of Passenger Seat Radio, YouTube. Today, it was not live. Well, it was live, but it was unlisted, so none of you should have been able to find this. Once this show will become a live thing, we're just going to be doing this this one time so I can see what the output looks like, so I can better address any particular problems. Yes, welcome to the show. This is the first episode on YouTube. We used to be on Spreaker, but for those of you who've been following the show, you know that Spreaker screwed everybody over. And screw them. So now we are on YouTube, which is free, and I can still do live shows. I'm just more concerned about interrupting the flow of my regular YouTube channel with this. But now that I've ingested 850 episodes into my Monroe World channel, I really can't move it anywhere else. So this is what it is. So welcome. So you're probably wondering why I'm doing a show on a Monday. Well, let me tell you a story. The story is they wanted management to come into the office an extra couple days a week for a while, try to iron out some stuff. So we got a lot of new people, try to get everybody sort of acquainted, and it's one of those things where it'll be good. It'll be good for everybody. Get a little more time in the office together. I hate the commute. I'm stuck in gridlock right now because I didn't get out of there until right at 4 o'clock. I try to get there about 15 minutes early and leave 15 minutes early because literally Phoenix traffic is on a 5-minute scale. Every 5 minutes past 4 o'clock that you don't get on the road, you are in fact down 20 minutes. So if you leave at 4:15, it's gonna be like an hour to get home, which is ridiculous. It's like 25 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the morning. It's unbelievable. I hate commuting. Just make my face look even fatter than it is, doesn't it? Oh well. No one's gonna be watching the video feed on this anyway. It's just that YouTube, in their wisdom, won't let us turn it off. So I want to do a podcast without video, but you can't do that. So the other option is I could turn the camera around and point it at the ceiling, which would be more or less a black picture. So why not see my ugly mug and my big old glasses staring at you? That'd be fun too. All right. Well, I actually have something to talk about today. You guys are going to love this. So my wife and I, like every 4 to 6 weeks, we try to get out and have a little date weekend, right? So we go and we book a hotel downtown, someplace. Usually we go to the same hotel, but we were going to go see something this weekend that required us to be in a slightly different location in town. So we chose a different Hilton. Normally we stay at a Hilton downtown. This time it was a Hilton in Chandler, which you think greater Phoenix area, right? So when you say Phoenix, there's like a shitload of towns next to them, right? So you start off in Phoenix proper, but then you've got Glendale, Scottsdale, Chandler, Fountain Hills, what else? Avondale. There's like Goodyear. Like you could literally throw a dart at Phoenix and you could hit one of like 20 freaking towns, but you're all really in the greater Phoenix area. Am I right? Anywho, so Chandler is in the greater Phoenix area, but we're like at the other side of Phoenix. So it was literally, believe it or not, from my house. Yeah, shut up. I can't control these shitty drivers. My car's yelling at me. Brake. Yeah, I got it, you monkey. So Chandler is actually like 45 minutes from my house. Yeah, that was a 45-minute drive. Actually, it was closer to an hour 10 with traffic. So we went Friday afternoon to the hotel in Chandler, right? It's in the kind of the historic district of Chandler, which is great. I mean, we've never stayed down there. So one of the things I'm going to take a quick side stretch here. One of the things that I found out a few years back. Have you noticed that the older you get, the faster time goes by? Yeah, we've talked about that on this show a couple of times. But the approved diagnosis of time slippage like this is the fact that time goes slower when there are more milestones to count. So, when you are a kid, you can't wait to turn 10. You can't wait to turn 13. You can't wait to turn 16. You can't wait to turn 18. You can't wait to turn 21. Then, of course, it kind of goes downhill from there. The first kiss, the first this, the first that. Your mind is overloaded with milestones, and you're overloaded with things to look forward to. And, of course, the more you want, the longer it takes, right? You get more of this, you get more of a fever. I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. Or you just have to wait. You get your driver's permit, then you got to wait 6 months to get your license, right? You get the idea. You turn 18, you don't have to listen to your parents anymore. Well, that's sort of it. But, once you hit a certain age, right? So you hit 30. 30 is kind of one of those creepy milestones. After that, it's pretty much a 10-year milestone. Every 10 years, it's like, shit, 40, fuck, 50, And then it's basically climbing the box 60, right? Am I right? So, yeah. Anyway, so what I'm trying to do now is create more milestones. So a lot of people save up for like a Disneyland trip or a cruise, but that takes like all year long. So the whole year breezes by. You finally get to go on vacation with the family at Christmas time, 5 days, taking a cruise down to, I don't know. Sorry, traffic. So you take a cruise, whatever, and then it's over. And now you wash, rinse, and repeat. So now you have a whole nother year to breeze by before you can build more milestones. So what we're trying to do is, instead of that 3 trips to Vegas a year or 2 trips to Vegas a year that we were doing, we decided instead to do more things local, but things that are outside of the norm, right? Going to a hotel, getting away from the house, driving at least an hour, right? Or 40 minutes, whatever. So we have these sort of parameters. Go to cool themed pop-up bars. All these bars and stuff around here are changing their experiences constantly to keep people coming back. So we found new venues to check out. We've got new places to go. And you know what? We could go someplace new every month. And it would still be fun and exciting. So that's the whole point, is we're trying to do new things. And we're trying to do them regularly to keep that sort of time slippage away. So that was the segue. So there's a show. It's sort of part of the Cirque du Soleil family. I don't know if it's officially part of the family, but it's called Paranormal Cirque. Paranormal Cirque. And this is the second year it's been touring, so now it's Paranormal Cirque 2. And it is, so you know what Cirque du Soleil is, right? Okay, maybe, I'm trying to think of like, doesn't everybody know what that is? But I maybe not. So let me explain it to you. So, you know what a circus is, right? Ringmaster, acrobats, jugglers, clowns, right? Trapeze, tightrope walking. Well, take that and drag it into the 20th century and put the word extreme in front of it. Extreme circus, right? These guys do crazy fucking shit. And you're watching this going, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. I mean, that doesn't even look possible. A lot of times they do it without nets and without safety stuff. So, they're basically dead if they miss. There's sort of something cool about that, isn't there? But that's so morbid. But anyway, so there's usually themes that go along with these Cirque du Soleil type things, right? And they change them up periodically. Well, this one, as you might have guessed by the word paranormal, it is a goth horror I guess emo. I don't know how else to put it. It's just like a goth horror type Cirque du Soleil. So it's Cirque du Soleil, but it's all themed with horror, scary shit, gore, haunted themes, right? It sounded really cool. Now, my wife is typically has low tolerance for this sort of scary stuff. So I wasn't 100% sure that this would hit the mark. But you know what? I tend to pick things out without her. I want it to be a surprise. So I'll tell her, I say, on Monday, I'll say, this Friday, make sure you get out of school or on time, right? Get home, because we got plans. And then I won't tell her until like Thursday what it is, right? So it's kind of fun for me too. Anyhow, okay, Cirque du Soleil. So it's Paranormal Cirque. And they literally tour this gigantic, when I say the word tent, it comes to mind, you're thinking I'm talking about like an old big top tent. And that's kind of what the outside looks like. If you're on my Discord, go to discord.monroeworld.com, join our Discord, Landing Channel Passenger Seat Radio. I'll share some pictures and what little video and imagery that I could take. So essentially it looks like a big tent on the outside, but it's like a modern conveyance on the inside, right? You've got excellent seats. It's not like you're sitting on a bleacher. It's got top-notch production stuff inside. It's really great. And so we thought this would be fun. So we drove down, we got to the hotel. Again, new hotel. So we have all sorts of new things to learn, the parking situation, everything like that. Believe it or not, that's actually a thing. It's not like you're pulling up to a Motel 6 and parking in front of your room. It's always something crazy. And of course, then we have to try to come up with something for dinner. So we had 7:30 showtime tickets. And, on a Friday, my wife gets home about 4. So got to haul ass, right? We got to haul butt to Chandler, get checked in, get everything situated, get some food, and then get our asses to the venue. Now, this is a venue that I've never been to before. I don't know what parking's like. I don't know anything. And you don't. That's kind of the screwball part of it is you don't know. So we plan to be there early, blah, blah, blah. We figure there's probably some vendors or something going on outside that we could go see. So even if we got there too early, we'd have something to do, or we just sit in the car, whatever. So my wife's been suffering from some sort of a back issue. It's like nerves and muscle. Nobody really knows what it is. So she's been in a ton of pain, which kind of made me want to cancel this weekend, but it didn't work out that way. She decided not to. She was going to buck up and do it. So normally we'd be happy walking to some restaurant. Fortunately, the hotel that we were at pretty much had restaurants a stone's throw away. So it was really, really easy for us to get to. We ended up at a restaurant called The Uncommon. And it is a bar, a game room, and then food. And then they have another side called Egg-tastic or something, where they serve brunch and lunch and things like that. That's only open for a short period. So we went there and we had dinner. Really neat place. They had TVs running, and I thought this was really cool because we went back later after the show and had a couple of drinks there. And so they had TVs all over the place, big TVs. There was a couple of ones with sports on them, but there was some sort of variety channel that they had playing. And I don't know if it was something custom that they had put together or what, but it was way cool. It had just geek shit, just anything, all sorts of stuff. So when we went in for the drink, and I was up at the counter getting our drinks, and my wife was sitting in our little cozy booth there, they were playing sexiest Star Trek clips, right? So imagine any time any female in the Star Trek franchise got topless, right, from backside or whatever, you're not going to see anything, but imagine any sexy scene you've ever seen in Star Trek, and it was in rapid fire succession. That was one thing that was on the channel. Then they moved to showing video games, right? They showed a video game from each year, from 1980 to 1990. and they showed actual video game play. Another one, they were showing like old 80s TV commercials, which was way cool. Yeah, we just kind of sat there drinking and watching these TVs. It was cool. And then there's a place called Crispies or something like that have these interesting ice cream cones. They're basically like a scone at the bottom, and then they fill it with whatever sort of topping or something you might want, like peanut butter, Nutella, whatever, and then they put in soft serve to fill it up to be a cone. So you get to eat the ice cream, and then you get to the bottom, and you've got this really like chewy breaded cone. It was so good. So we had that as well. So let's talk about the paranormal show. Cirque, whatever. So we get there, and it's actually it's basically inside of a giant parking lot of an outlet place down in Chandler. Can't remember what it's called. Is it Pleasant Parkway? Something, it began with a P. Anyway, I don't remember. So we get down there, and it's literally like tons of parking. Now, the tickets for this show were remarkably hard to get, which is really weird because you wouldn't think that something like this would be this popular, but it was. So for me to try to find 2 good seats, and I'm talking like middle center or slightly off middle center, right? That's where you want to sit. Because it's a circular stage, and they said, oh, there's no bad seats. No, there were bad seats. Trust me. I was there. I got video of the bad seats. The seating, there was like nothing available. Nothing. I mean, it was booked. Good for them. And the seats that we got were just off left of center middle. So we had decent seats. We really did. And those were $45, which that wasn't bad at all. The quote gray seats, or the good seats that were, the first 2 or 3 rows along the entire length of the stage, that was actually $65. So not much more. I would have happily paid $65 to be closer to the stage, and I would definitely recommend doing that because there's audience participation and interaction that you might not get. Well, you won't get if you're in our seats. So we pull up to this place, and it's cool as hell. I got great pictures of the venue, what it looks like from the outside. And so you go up there, and there's all sorts of stuff. There's like an old zombied out Jeep, blah, blah, blah. And so they scan you in, they scan your tickets. You go inside, and it's sort of like a concession area, except for it's all decked out, sort of like the Haunted Mansion. Right? It's pretty freaking cool looking. Whole cemetery graveyard, the fog machines, the dim, scary lighting. It was great. And of course, they had performers walking around, trying to fuck with everybody. Fortunately, my wife didn't let any of them get to her, so they just left her alone. Plenty of people to fuck with. So it was more like, think of it like it was an upscale haunted house, except for you're like in the waiting area where they're just kind of wandering around. You're not being wound through a cattle car system to be spooked. It was just there. And so on either side, there were 2 entrances in, depending on which section you were seated in. And there were concession stands on both sides served that were food. Everything was cash only, by the way. There was an ATM there, and by the way, the ATM kicked ass. It was all dressed up. You'll have to see the pictures. It's really cool. We didn't know if there'd be an ATM or not, so we stopped somewhere and got cash on the way there. So my wife loves like theater popcorn, and we knew that they had popcorn because people were bitching about how expensive it was in the reviews, right? So we were all excited about that. And there's always like carny food stuff, right? The nachos, the snow cones, right? Yeah, it's the kind of food that you get at these places. So we stopped, we got something to drink, and we got her popcorn, blah, blah, blah. It was really cool. I got a picture of her with this hot, dead-looking chick. It was great. So we went in, and the seats are really cool. I don't know if I've ever sat in seats quite like these. You can tell they were assembled, but they were rockers. they weren't like high-end theater chairs, but they were comfortable and they rocked a little bit, which was actually pretty cool. I mean, listen, you're going to be there for a couple hours. You might as well be comfortable. I was worried it was going to, my poor wife's back. I was worried that it was going to be, like, wooden platforms or something we were sitting on, benches. But it wasn't. It was great. It was very comfortable. So the problem, though, is the seats are pretty close together. So when somebody needs to get past you to get to their seats, yeah, everybody's interrupted. Everybody has to stand up. Everybody has to, shimmy around trying to make room. And, I'm fine doing that until the show starts. Then I'm not so fucking happy doing that. Plenty of people couldn't figure out how to get there on time. That shit pisses me off, right? I paid $130 to watch the show, not the backs of these fucking heads of the people who decided that they didn't want to come on time. They wanted to come late. So we had some of that going on. So we literally missed an act or two just because people wouldn't fucking show up on time. And then the ones that showed up late or like right at the edge, you had to get up for, move around, blah, blah, blah. Bitch. I know, first world problems. Wah, I had to get up when I was at the show. Wah. But anyway, so it was just about time for the show to start. And the seat next to me was empty. And I'm like, yeah, nice. I mean, you can kind of stretch out a little bit, right? I mean, we're bigger people, we're not string beans, and these weren't gigantic seats or anything. So, being able to like kind of scooch over and spread out would have been great. Well, that was not to be, because that chair had been purchased by a fucking bitch. Yes, that's right. I said it. I would use the C word. I would say fucking cunt. And I don't use that word like all the time. So here's what happened. First off, she comes in and she's basically the pre-show has kind of started, right? So we're watching the pre-show, having a good time. She comes in, right? And so we're sort of sitting in the middle. There's every other seat in that row that she had to come down was filled. She had a water bottle, which I'm 99% sure was filled with vodka. And she had mental problems. So she was not only mentally challenged, but she was all gussied up like she was, going out to dinner with the president. I mean, everyone else is wearing, shorts and a t-shirt, and she's like dressed up. It's like, okay, whatever works for you. But she starts coming down and she's being a complete bitch. She's pissing at everybody that won't get out of her way. She's like, she's got that kind of attitude going on, that real Karen shit. Like, I'm glad we have a word for that now, because it's like, bitch sometimes doesn't quite fit. A Karen thing, that fits. So she was being all bitchy, and every time somebody would say something to her, she would like growl back at him. I'm like, oh my God, please don't be sitting next to me. Please don't be sitting next to me. Yeah, she's sitting next to me. She smells. She's high, drunk, or both. And she's got a little something missing upstairs. Yeah, I said it. So she's missing a little something upstairs. And so she takes up all of her seat. She wasn't fat. She was kind of skinny, but she had no equilibrium. So she was constantly leaning against me. She was like leaning up against me. And dude, and she smelled. God, okay, listen, let's be honest. If she was hot and didn't stink, I wouldn't mind if she was laying against me. That's just a normal guy thing to say, okay? Cancel me on Twitter. Do whatever you want. But if it was a hot chick, I probably wouldn't have minded. But she was not hot, and she was loud. She's one of those ones that talk to herself when she wants to talk to somebody, but they're ignoring her. She talks to herself almost like in a different voice, like Norman Bates shit, because she wants you to think that she's somebody else. I don't know. That fucking wacko. You can't account for shit like that. So she's like leaning against me, and I'm kind of pushing her, pushing back against her a little bit. And she's pissed at me for pushing back at her. She gets, and I'm like, excuse me. And then she gives me that look, that withering look. Something like that, right? I can't do it, but you get the idea. She has that withering look. And then she's like, oh my God. She's got that voice too. She's got that, oh my God. She's like all nasally. Oh my God, that's my boss. Sharon, boss, Sharon, that's my boss. She's like looking at me like I give a fuck, right? And she's like, Sharon. And you can tell that the woman she's screaming at wants absolutely nothing to do with her, right? You can tell. And so she's like, Sharon, that's my boss. She's like elbowing me. That's my boss. That's my boss. I'm like, I don't give a fuck if it's your boss. Shut the fuck up. I didn't say that because I'm a nice guy, but I wanted to say it. And so the woman finally turns and acknowledges her and feigns surprise because, trust me, she knew exactly who was here and who was screaming her name. She wanted nothing to do with it. In fact, she ended up leaving. The boss, Sharon. And so the woman, the crazy lady, I'm going to just have to call her something. Crazy lady decides she wants to reach out and hold her boss's hand across fucking 4 seats. And she's like basically laying on my lap, elbowing my wife in the fucking chest, trying to hold the hand of her boss. And her boss, oh my God, she wanted so nothing to do with her. And I'm like, okay. And I'm pushing her arm off. She's like, God, no, that's my boss. And I'm like, okay, can you just stay in your seat? That's my boss. What's wrong with you? Why you talk to me like that? And I'm just sitting there, I'm looking straight ahead. I'm not giving her any attention because that's what she wants. She wants attention. Not giving her any attention. Well, then the show begins, right? And we're in like the second or third act at this point. And this bitch is practically laying on my lap. I'm trying to snuggle up over to my wife just to keep her off of me. And every inch that I move over, she moves over 2 inches. And I am like fucking frothing. And then every time I move, she grunts at me. Like, I'm daring you. Like she's so fucking I'm so pissed. Finally, my wife's like, let's change spots. I'll take care of this. You know, she deals with teenagers all day. She knows how to take care of the mentally incapacitated. So she's like, let's change seats. I'm like, no, it's fine for now. And then finally, the bitch looks at me and says, what? I'm in my spot. You're in my seat. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And so my wife's like, change seats with me. I got this. So we change seats. And my wife is basically on my lap now, trying to avoid this bitch laying all over her. She doesn't care who she's laying on. And she's just being a cunt. And now other people are starting to go away. I'm recording. Now other people are looking at her like, shut the fuck up. You know, everybody's getting pissed at her. And she's like, it's not my, it's her. She's the one doing it. She did it. She's in my spot. She hit my elbow. That's actually fairly accurate. It hurts my voice to do that, though. Jesus, my throat. She's the one doing it. And then this guy turns around and says, no, it's you. You're the one doing it. And she's like, what? It's not me. It's her. It's her. And so finally, everybody like looks at her, telling her to shut up. It's not them. It's you. You're being a bitch. I've got, you're being. One woman turned around and said, my kids are here. Why don't you get out? Why don't you leave? You need to leave. I'm not going to. She's the one who needs to leave. Those who need to leave. And everybody, of course, knows that it's all her. God, that's harsh on the throat. Damn. I should have done some warm-ups before I did the show. Some vocal warm-ups. What? Lane closed. Damn it. All right, hang on. Let me get into position so I can zone out with the show. My wife is really getting pissed. Like I think she's about ready to snap on this woman. Fortunately, everybody in the immediate circle, like circled up the wagons, right? Everybody basically told her to get out. We're going to call somebody and have you removed. Just leave. And finally she left, but holy shit. That was like so, and I'm sitting here thinking, I paid $130. I'm not going to get to watch any of this because I'm going to be dealing with Miss Bitch over here. Well, fortunately, she left about 2/3 of the way through the first act. So I got to see some stuff, but I didn't get to see a lot of stuff, which pisses me off, right? And And then, so we watched the first act. I'll talk about what's in the show in a minute. I just want to finish up the chronology piece of it. So after the first act is a 15-minute intermission. And they encourage the audience to line up on the left and come up on the stage and get pictures taken. You know, they're selling pictures at the end, right? You know, sort of a Disney thing. like Disney, but not. So everybody's going up there, and they have a cast of characters, right? So they've got I think it's a little person who played multiple parts. So maybe I should just discuss the show first before I talk about the intermission. So think about, much like Cirque du Soleil. So the first half of the show is a bit more vaudeville style. Contortionists, jugglers, these sort of the warm-up acts, if you will, before they get to the impressive stuff. I mean, it was still impressive, but it was like, it was cool. These guys were master jugglers. I mean, this isn't, somebody throwing, 3 bowling pins. These guys were doing like 8 balls at once, things like that. It was crazy. It was entertaining. Listen, it was fun. You had a little bit of ghoulish dance numbers. You had these 2 girls that were contortionists. They were pretty cool. You had a sword swallower, that sort of thing, right? We had a sword swallower. She was all dressed like Linda Blair. It was great. So yeah, so the whole theme of this thing is basically horror. So everyone's got something going. Everyone looks like they've been cut, stabbed, beaten, whatever. And so you can tell it was almost like an extended family circus. It was definitely a cut above, right? When I say a family circus, that sounds kind of cheap and shitty. But these guys, there were probably, I would say there were 15 performers total, right? And they did multiple things. So for one act, there would be some creepy looking wizard dude standing in the corner, and that turned out to be one of the guys that was performing at the big show part at the end. But for the most part, it wasn't like licensed characters. It wasn't Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers and all this stuff. It was like, it was a home show. It was really good. There's this one bit where this couple was a bald guy and this pretty hot chick were on skates, and they get up on this platform and they're doing crazy shit on skates in this platform. It was absolutely crazy. Might have been one of the best parts of it. I don't know how they did that, but one fuck up and they would have both been in the hospital. I'm sure that's happened before. But it was really, really good. And then you'd see the same girl show up or the same guy show up in another bit. It was really good. They had like death-defying feats on the trapeze or on the tightrope. These guys were really, really good on the tightrope. Doing, standard tightrope stunts. But the cool part was the intermission, where people could line up and then you would go on stage and there were characters. There was the little midget guy, little person, whatever. He was dressed up like the Ghostface from Scream, which was funny because Ghostface was tall and he's like not. And then they had somebody dressed up as Michael Myers. They had a photographer up there. And then a couple of girls who were sort of like basically like handlers to make sure people got around. And then we get up and do pictures, and they were doing terrible things. I'm talking like this was an adult show. They were doing dry humping on stage. They were making the severed head that Michael Myers was carrying around give the people head. It was great. It was like 15 minutes of endless joy. It was so much fun. And then the second part, they ramped everything up and all the bigger acts came out. And it was really good. We had a great time. And if you have an opportunity, I would highly recommend it. All right, well, I'm almost home. I hope you enjoyed this new format, new show. I'm Shane Monroe, Passenger Seat Radio. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.